A lifelong favorite comic is Family Circus. I found one recently where Dolly and Billy are watching the TV. There's a TV evangelist pronouncing something bold, and Dolly turns to Billy. Did you hear? People in heaven will have ever-laughing life. It's so perfect. It's just right for today. Just right for this Sunday, this Holy Humor Sunday. A tradition that was started by the early Christians. See, the week after Easter were considered days of joy and laughter with parties and picnics to celebrate Jesus' resurrection. And laughter with others too, can be the best way to cope with difficult situations, uncertainty, and yes, even our mistakes. Perhaps what I described hits too close to home. Maybe you're like this Twitter observer who wrote, I made the mistake of telling my husband an early symptom of COVID is the loss of smell. He's taken to passing gas in my vicinity, and then when I react, he informs me that he's doing a helpful health check. He's taught the children the technique. I might divorce him. It may or may not be how you're experiencing life right now. You may feel like you're in the midst of seriousness, that you're trying to cope with all you've got, you're uncertain, and I can't believe I made a mistake. I just can't afford that right now. But it is very aptly where the disciples were after Easter. They were not partying. They were not having picnics. They were locked in their homes, scared to death, until Jesus showed up. Despite the reports from Mary and what other gospel writers talk about the disciples, that some of them, such as Peter and John and James, had actually seen the empty tomb, uncertainty in the difficult situation took hold and paralyzed them. Peter regretted his failure to claim loyalty to Jesus, and the others might have been wondering, you mean I gave up my fishing career and 3 years of my life for this? It's all dead, and they're mocking me. What now? The Gospel of John shares that on Easter evening, Jesus came to them and gave them what they wanted and needed most. Peace, assurance of his real presence, including the scars, and the Holy Spirit, their guide for every day after that, whether the days were bright and joyous or dreary with doubt and sorrow. But Thomas missed the meeting. Maybe his Zoom connection didn't work. No, but really, he just wasn't there. And he wasn't there in person, and so no words of enthusiasm could persuade him of the miraculous, unimaginable reality of Jesus being alive. So Jesus came again to the group a week later through the locked door, and this time he made sure to go straight to Thomas so he could have an up-close and personal touch, to which he responded, "It's you." Now, if you were Jesus, and maybe a little bit more cynical, can you imagine some of the responses going through his head? Duh. No, it's a pincushion that they were selling at my execution. Oh, Thomas, I don't have time for this. The disciples have been given many names, and Thomas is not excluded. We know him as Doubting Thomas. But when Jesus says, "Blessed are those who believe without seeing," perhaps a better name would be Failing Thomas. We all make mistakes, whether it's due to fear or doubt, from inability or just being human. Yes, Thomas, I feel you. I make mistakes all of the time. Doubt has kept me from making the right decisions or trusting my instincts that would have saved me so much pain. I'm grateful, therefore, that the gospel writer includes this genuine, authentic, humble response of Thomas, "My Lord, my God." How do we do when we mess up? Paul Swanson, a staff member of the Center of Action and Contemplation, led by Richard Rohr, spoke about a recent viewing of the new Ram Dass documentary, where he heard an after-talk with the director. Derek Peck, the director, said, "I try to see every new failure as more adorable than the last. At this very moment of taping, I'm aware of the most recent mistake, and that is forgetting that Spencer, at 18 months and now a warrior after 4 vaccines, should be considered fully dependent, at least in his mind. Don't cut my banana, Mom! What are you thinking? I want to eat it like a man, one huge bite at a time. Yes, that's cute, super adorable, way cuter than putting a friend on the spot in front of a group of people. Adorable failures. How do we claim our shadows and our limitations in the light of resurrection? How do we see them in the light of an ongoing process of change and transformation, recognizing that we don't have to stay there, but that they can be moved? And how do we see that resurrection is transforming our sadness and grief, failure and limitation, so that we can see it in such a way that it's not just once and done and it's either good or we have no problem or we have no possibility, or that it's a season, an ongoing, lifelong thing. And because of that, we might as well take it with a little bit of humor so that we can laugh at ourselves. Laughter, admittedly, is not my go-to. I'm more of a self-loathing sort of gal. If you make a mistake as a perfectionist, that's the quickest jump. Anyone else out there? Anyone else? Oh gosh, I really wish you were here so I could see your hands and not be standing in this light of shame by myself. But Richard Rohr says, to sink into self-hatred, self-loathing is an ego response. Why are you shocked that you are not perfect? Self-judgment is ego-based, meaning it's a false self. It's a false interpretation of who we are meant to be, our true self, that includes that divine spark making its mark known. And so, if we allow that to step back and we claim our true selves, we can instead see our mistakes with a little bit of humility. Oh, of course. Whoops. I guess I'll do better. And then we can maybe even laugh at ourselves to recognize failure as being part of living into aspirations, values, and growth. And that is to the tender work that Jesus offered to Thomas, who wanted to see his scars. Oh, Thomas, you want to know me. It's hard to imagine, isn't it? But it's me. Yes, brother, come, see. Come, put your fingers in my wounds. Come, make this real for you. Come and know that I am here to give you peace and assurance and purpose. Come now, so you can tell others. Come, so that you can know the truth forever. Come, so that others need not doubt or mistake the holy message. When I watch my kids fail, I don't harp on them for not living up to my aspirations. I look at them at learning. Even discipline, when you have to say, no, we didn't do that right, or stop, it's a learning process. When Spencer falls over, I don't wag my finger, you should be walking perfectly now. But instead, I sometimes even laugh, recognizing how adorable he is when he falls and yet picks himself up so quickly and with more strength and confidence than he had ever had. Lydia has begun coloring more and more and more, and she's staying in the lines more and more and more. She's finding delight in being particular and careful, being beautiful and expressing her abilities. The risk of aspiration is to fail. To be authentic is aspirational. To claim values is aspirational because we'll fail over and over and over again. But those aspirations pull us forward. Aspirational values and groundedness guide us. As Paul Swanson says, any true spiritual teaching calls you beyond where you are while tenderly holding you in that place. It's a dance of sorts, even if it means stepping on toes. As a wedding gift, my parents gave Mac and I dancing lessons at the local college, and talk about mistakes. Talk about being humble. Talk about being tender, not just with the other person, but with yourself. I recall some of my inner thoughts of that time. It went something like this. Let him lead, Sarah. Okay, don't count out loud. Look up. Oh, I hate these shoes. Why does he get to wear flats and I have to wear heels? How do people swing their hips so easily? I'm definitely not getting this right. Excuse me, can we have our own room, please, so we can practice? We don't have to do it in front of other people. Better yet, I'd like my own room so that I can practice, so that my new partner doesn't see what a klutz he's married. Well, Mac shared with me, much later, his thoughts. Did the teachers realize that we've never done this before? Remember that we're learning. I'm so slow at the pickup. The deaf guy is nice, but the other one is super mean. Give me a break. Every mistake helps me learn. Just keep telling yourself that. But why are they still happening? And why aren't they using microphones? I'm sure I didn't hear that right. The steps can't go like this. Anyone else? How do you dance? Our opening hymn, The Lord of the Dance, calls us into a dance of aspiration, of possible failure. But he invites us in because he's the Lord of the dance and he will lead us on. He will help us with the steps. He will guide us. He will hold our hands. He will tenderly take us and help us chuckle along the way. We dance, we aspire, we seek God, we follow Jesus, we listen to the Holy Spirit with intentionality and care and lots of mistakes. But we're pulled forward and still, despite the adorable failures, by the grace-filled God and a guiding light. And with a little humility, we might even chuckle with every next step. Cha-cha-cha. God bless you.